Today on Locked On Red Wings, Simon Edvinsson snaps the Red Wings 2-game skid with an overtime winner in Pittsburgh.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's the host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News, while I am the color commentator for Oakland University D1 men's hockey team. And we thankfully have a victory to talk to you guys about in this episode. Wasn't sure we were going to get that after how the second half of that game transpired, but we will talk about that, and all of that is included within that throughout this episode. Before we can get to that, I got to let you guys know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Scotty, first of all, happy Thursday. Nice to see you again, buddy.
Nice to see you, man. Yeah.
Thank
How
you.
how was your day? Don't care.
Fine.
Red Wings.
Yeah. I was just going to say it was fine and move on. So we'll move on. Scotty, first thought on this hockey game. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when thinking about this 3-2 overtime winner in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, you want to know my actual first thought was, I think, an expletive.
That is why it's called that. Yeah.
I think. Well, my point is, I think it probably isn't safe for air. My first thought was, thank goodness. Is probably the closest I'll get to it. Like, just genuinely, that was my first thought. Like, they played such a solid and good hockey game for the first half of this one, and they were up 2-0, and they were out shooting the Penguins by a bunch, and they were maintaining possession, and Talbot looked good, and it was like, wow, this is I'm not kidding. I thought at one point of the quote you said, I think it was about a week ago, when you had brought up on here, you were like, I'm still waiting for that dominant Wings win, right? Like, we're getting pretty late in the season, and we haven't had like a start to finish, wow, the Wings just blew the doors off this team. And I was like, oh, here it is. Like, that legitimately, started the second period, I was like, oh, we finally got here. This is going to be the dominant win. This is nice. And then around my roommate calls it halftime, right around 10 minutes in the second period, it almost exactly then it flipped on its head, and they allowed the goal to the outside, and then the rest of the game was, it almost looked like the ice had tilted a little bit, but still walked out of there with 2 points, which is why it was kind of, my first thought was a big sigh of relief, just genuinely, thank goodness.
Yeah, I mean, I think my first thought is kind of similar in nature to yours, in that you saw how good this team can look when the forwards play within the structure of the system, and you saw how bad they can look when they lose that structure, because I think that's really what the difference was in the first 30 minutes versus the second 30 minutes, is just the forward structure, both in the offensive zone and in the defensive zone. They look lost in the second half of that game, and just nothing was clicking, and that's something we saw a lot up until the game against Chicago. Then Chicago, on to the first half of this game, you saw an offensive structure that was making a lot of good progress, was in transition very well, was getting established zone time, getting chances to the high danger areas. Wasn't necessarily equating to goals, at least not at 5-on-5 until this game, but still they were getting a lot more pressure, and they were starting to win those analytical battles. And you saw both of that in this game. So that was like my first thought. It's like, wow, you saw like the best and worst this offense has to offer in this hockey game. Scotty, when it comes to difference makers in this game, though, I mean, there's the obvious one, and then there's like the real one. I mean, they're both real, but which one are you going to go with in this one?
I'm going to go with the obvious one. I'm going to go with the layup. If you're going to keep passing to me first, man, I'm going to give you the assist though. I'm going to go with Edvinsson. It's very obviously the goal, he scored in overtime. They won the game because of it. That's awesome. Game winner for him this young in his career was really cool. But I think you zoom out, it really even goes beyond that. And I'm really happy that this happened right after an episode where we discussed how good that pair has been on the season, because we now have the luxury of just kind of pointing to that and all those numbers we brought up on yesterday's show and talking about, like, this is him getting rewarded for having such a good first full season in the NHL. I think that's kind of the coolest part. Him being out there in overtime period. Like, I mean,
that's the big thing.
Surprise. But if you would have told us over the summer, like, hey, he'd be one of the main defensemen out there in crunch time, that would be a win. We would have considered that a huge win if we knew that was going to happen in a mid-November game back in, July or August, if we could predict the future. So I think that obviously the goal was great. He's a difference maker because of this game in a vacuum and that goal in a vacuum, I should say. But I really do think that it's a nice, microcosm of the great season that he is having, and for him to get rewarded and be celebrated like that, I think is an excuse to talk about how good he's been.
Yeah, and it's funny too, and everything you've said is completely true, but it's funny that reward comes in probably the game I think the top pair had its most obvious mishaps.
We were going to focus on Seider, I know, later on a little bit in that, but I mean, it goes both ways when it comes to the D pair for sure.
Seider, or Edvinsson rather, I thought early in the game kind of struggled to deal with Evgeny Malkin, which, I mean, that's a future Hall of Famer, one of the best ever.
A lot of people have.
Right. Like, you could definitely tell that there was like a little bit of an experience gap there between the two. It was definitely the game I felt that the top pair was exposed the most. Overall, like, still, obviously, they were solid. They both played. Seider played almost 24 minutes. Simon Edvinsson played almost 23, led the team in minutes. They both had multiple shots, multiple hits, block shots, whatever. Like, they were still solid overall, but the mishaps and the miscues they did have were like major, mostly on Seider's side. And we, as much as we praise Seider, we'll mention that we can't ignore when he has games where it's like, dude, what was that? What are you doing? But yeah, I mean, Edvinsson is the clear difference maker because he finally did, like you said, get rewarded for that great play he's been having with the responsibility that he's been shouldering as a top pair defenseman in his first full season in the NHL. And just as you put it, like, to be rewarded with an overtime minutes is incredible, even though they called him Michael Rasmussen when he scored that goal. I imagine they just saw a giant player out there with the number 7 on his back, and they just assumed it was Rasmussen because he
Elmer Soderblom.
At some point, we got to talk too about how horrible that broadcast quality was. Not like in the play-by-play, but just like the audio and the video was out of sync.
Well, there was that one square in the upper left-hand corner that kept like it was like when a baseball hits a scoreboard and it like goes out. There was just this like random square. I don't know. It was weird, interesting,
but my difference maker in this hockey game then is Cam Talbot, and this is not going to be something that's shocking to many people. 32 saves in this game. He has a .941 save percentage. He had a goal saved above expected of close to 2.5, if I recall correctly. I can look. Natural Stat Trick has his goal saved above expected. Expected goals against is 402. So, do the math there. He let 2 in, so it's 2. He was very good in this hockey game. It varies from site to site. I know Evolving Hockey had him closer to 2.5, but the point being is he was very good in this hockey game. Again, he's been one of the best goalies in the league to start the season. I know, Henrik Lundqvist broke it down during the intermission report, talked about how in the first goal that they let up on against Brian Rust, he could have played it better. I mean, 2 things went poorly before it even got to him. Seider got burned, which is one of the things we're going to talk about, Patrick Kane turned the puck over, which caused Seider to have to transition suddenly, which probably is why he didn't have his feet underneath him. So, like, he could have played it better, but I'm not going to blame Talbot in that situation because 2 or 3 things had to go wrong before it even got to him all alone. And then the second goal was just backdoor wide open. I don't blame him for not being able to get over in time. Outside of that, he was fantastic. He made a huge save in overtime that actually led to the goal 4. Like, Evgeny Malkin in all alone. That time he stayed patient and stayed with him and made a huge save. Yeah. And it's just, Cam Talbot just continues to be a huge, like the biggest offseason win the Red Wings have had when it comes to pickups. He's been incredible.
Absolutely. It's also The Detroit Red Wings official team account just tweeted that that is his 250th career win. So congratulations to Cam Talbot there. But yeah, man, my difference maker was almost that save specifically, not even really the game as a whole, but like that. And like, obviously that's any save in overtime is a big save because it is sudden death, right? But like that is obviously that led to then the change of possession, which then led to the game-winning goal. So yeah, he had a fantastic game, and as you said, he continues to be not only one of the biggest offseason acquisitions, but I mean, just legitimately one of the biggest reasons as to why the Wings have even like won a lot of these games they haven't, quote unquote deserved. And I'm not saying today is like that, but or last night's game, as you're listening to this, was like that. But he's even the reason that they were able to keep their head above water at the very beginning of the season. So
many wins.
And line,
the Red Wings,
obviously.
Yeah, and line too. So many wins the Red Wings have had is just simply because they're goaltending has propped them up as they try to figure out how to play their hockey games. Scotty, we're going to have to do a quick break. When we return, we'll move on to the other notable performers in this one, so stay tuned to segment 2 of Lockdown Red Wings. Got to talk to you guys today about FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com today to get started. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first bet $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Today's episode is also brought to you by Select Quote. The World Series, Super Bowl, the Olympics, the world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. Select Quote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. SelectQuote is one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. Other life insurance brokers offer impersonal, one-size-fits-all policies that may cost you more and cover less than SelectQuote's licensed insurance agents that work for you to tailor a life insurance policy for your individual needs in as little as 15 minutes. And these policies are more affordable than you think. You can get coverage for up to $1 million for as little as $20 a month. Head to SelectQuote.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. SelectQuote. They shop, you save. Get the right life insurance for you for less at SelectQuote.com/LockedOnNHL. Go to SelectQuote.com/LockedOnNHL today to get started. Segment 2, Lockdown Red Wings podcast. Scotty, we got a litany of notable performers to talk about in this hockey game. Who do you want to lead off with?
Burger, baby.
There we go.
You know what? I am. This is another guy that I am glad he got rewarded, because we haven't said his name too terribly much, but that is not because he has been super disappointing or that he has been really bad or anything this year. We really talked about him a lot this summer and talked about the struggles that he has had staying on the NHL roster and why he got demoted and the odds that he was going to be a long-term player on this team. And he has improved his defense significantly. I mean, is he a lockdown defender? No, but like the bar was so low that you could improve significantly. And with him, he is an offensive weapon and is good enough of a playmaker scorer to be a bottom six forward in the NHL and be a solidified, in that role, if he can just be halfway decent defensively. And I think that him, especially a lot of playing time with Marco Kasper, obviously I'm sure has helped that a little bit. But I was really happy to see him get rewarded because I really do think that he has taken a lot of strides in the right direction this year, even if it hasn't shown up on the score sheet.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a guy, he got stoned in the game against the New York Rangers by Jonathan Quick on a 2-on-1. He got the puck late as a trailing man early in the first period in tonight's game, and he shot it right into Nedeljkovic's chest. And I was like, man, Burgers, like you're so close. And that's another thing too, is like it's an extension of the conversation we've been having about the third line as a whole as being the second most creative line on the team. Like it's obviously the Red Wings top line, DeBrincat, Larkin, and Raymond generates all the offense. But the little amount of offense that comes outside of that comes from that third line, even if it's not coming on the score sheet. Like when they have offensive possession, it's that third line doing the heavy lifting if it's not the first line. And so we were talking and we were having conversations behind the scenes, like maybe we should do an episode like how long do you keep the third line together? Like they're possessing the puck well, they're getting a lot of opportunities, but they're not converting. And how long can you go on not converting despite good play? And it's nice to finally see them break through. Tarasenko with the nice feed to Berggren, who just goes short side top shelf, which is a shot we've seen Berggren score on time and time again in the AHL. So it's nice to him finally get that, monkey off his back, break that streak wide open, and hopefully he can continue to pile on with the goals. And in the first half of this hockey game, when they were playing really well, it was that third line that was playing really well. They mentioned it on the broadcast that Kasper, Berggren, and Tarasenko line was carrying a lot of the play. Now, of course, in the second half, when the offensive structure fell apart, that did not continue to ring true, but it was just nice to see that line finally break through for a goal. And now I'm hoping that Kasper can finally get on the board with his first goal of the season at some point soon.
For sure. No, that would definitely be and I know that this has kind of been like my broken record point of the season, but like if, depth scoring is so important. And if that line, right, like if Berger can be a solid depth scoring option and Kasper can be the, produce offensively and be that solid two-way player, like you open up a whole different level that this team can obtain. And I'm not trying to put like all the weight of the world on two third liners on this team's shoulders, but it really would go such a long way and make such a significant difference at even strength at 5-on-5 play if that line ended up, being a solid offensive producer.
He did have a pretty substantial, Berggren that is, have a pretty substantial defensive play right after he scored that goal. He came back and lifted the stick of, I can't remember exactly who it was, but they were high in the slot. It was a 3-on-2. He came back, lifted the stick, took the puck away on a great scoring opportunity for the Penguins. So, like, he is trying defensively, which is really all we asked. That is all we asked, was just try. Yeah. And he's been trying because he wants to stay on the Red Wings. So, credit to him for that. Let's move on, though, Scotty. Other notable performer in this one, obviously, Moritz Seider kind of had probably his worst game of the season. And, I mean, by Moritz Seider standards, that's, not the worst.
He wasn't a liability. Like, he still was, he was still one of the better players wearing the winged wheel. But, yeah, I had a few breakdowns for sure.
And that's the thing, right? Like, overall, when you're talking about Moritz Seider's game, like we said, he still had 32 shifts, 24 minutes on the ice, 2 minutes on the power play, minute 40 on the penalty kill. He had 4 blocked shots, 4 hits, 1 takeaway. I mean, like, he's still doing it all. He had basically like 2 third assists on 2 of the goals, right? That power play goal that Kane scores, doesn't happen unless Seider comes down the boards to pinch that off and send it back the other way for the play to
He's so good at that.
Create. Yeah. So, but the mishaps that he had were huge, getting burned by Brian Rust, which is something that never happens.
You never see that happen with him ever, man. Literally just burned outside. Like there was no trickery. He just literally skated around him on the outside. That never happens with him.
I mean, how many times do you see him like take his stick and just bear down on the player trying to do that?
He has the body too, man. Right. Like even if he can't get the puck, like he's at least gonna make his presence felt and get in the way. I mean, we don't see that happen too terribly often.
Yeah. And then in the third period, he took that really dumb penalty. Like, there's no excuse for that one. The one on Beauvillier was a dumb play. Like, right in front of the ref, you dump the puck, you pass it up the ice. Beauvillier is in front of you, and I understand. Like, you're thinking, okay, this guy's been trying to go after Raymond, so I'm going to give him a shot here. Well, you cross-checked him right in the back, behind the play, right in front of the ref. Tie game late in the third. Like, dude, you got to use your head. That's not the spot for it. So
tough, bud.
But I'm not worried about it. It's Moritz Seider. But it's just, you can't, if you're going to praise him when he's great, you got to, mention when
you can mention a shortcoming without thinking that like the world is ending and that it's going to lead to him being awful. Like he's fine and still one of the best players on the team, and nothing's changed. He just made a couple of bad plays.
Yeah, absolutely. Scotty, let's head to another quick break. When we return, we'll wrap up our conversation. Any other notable performers we have? We do have one news/note that broke soon after the game ended, like pretty much immediately after the game ended. We'll talk about that as well in segment 3. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. And PrizePicks is the best way to get in on the action with sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. And if you sign up today, you'll get a $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, if you use code LOCKEDONNHL, you'll get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Segment 2, Lockdown Red Wings, or segment 3 rather, Lockdown Red Wings podcast. I just love wins so much. I wanted to repeat a segment. Scotty, in terms of other players that you wanted to mention from this game that you felt had notable performances, is there? Well, Patrick Kane, I guess. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
That is who I was going to bring up.
It seems pretty obvious.
Patty Kane. Let's just cover all the goal scorers here. I mean, obviously that play was a beauty. I have so much confidence in this power play at the moment. They look dynamic, like genuinely when this, specifically the power play won, but like really whatever combination they throw out there, man, like that is the most confident I am in the Wings when they play throughout all 60 minutes is when they're on the power play. And like, that's not like a super, oh my goodness, no way. Like, okay, you have an extra player like that. Most teams probably feel like that more times than not, but they are really buzzing right now. It's a really, really strong unit, which is great because the penalty kill has been atrocious. A little bit better today, penalty kill.
Yeah, I mean, this was we going into it, the 17th ranked power play. I mean, you got Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby on it, and they went 2 for 2. So, like, special teams definitely played a huge role in this win. So, like, they've struggled to kill penalties, so I'm not going to look any gift horse in the mouth. It doesn't matter what team they're playing. Going 100% on the penalty kill to me at this time is always going to be a win. And they had, again, because of the Moritz Seider bad penalty. Because of the Moritz Seider penalty, they had a good opportunity late, and they were able to kill it off. Now, in the second half, the last 30 seconds of that penalty, I felt they were kind of just surviving rather than actively clearing the puck. But they still got the job done, and like you said, the power play. And that goal, I want to give credit to, incredible hustle by Raymond and Larkin, engaging in board battles. Raymond won that puck like twice. He won it the first time, tried to go up to the blue line, I think.
Is he good?
He didn't get there. Raymond, is he good? Maybe. I'm not sure.
His shoulder was kind of... Well, I meant you mean health-wise. He's obviously very good, yes.
I thought you were being sarcastic. He played the rest of the game, so I would imagine he just kind of got stung.
It almost looked like they just popped it back in, and I don't know what happened. I'm not a doctor, but like that, that was kind of scary for half a second there. I'm glad he went back out there.
And then, he gave it to Larkin, who gloved it out of the air, gave the pass. I don't know why they're leaving future Hall of Famer Patrick Kane wide open back door. Probably doesn't seem like a very wise decision, but he buried it.
Yeah.
But Raymond and Larkin did all the hard work on that goal. Shout out to Seider too before that.
as you mentioned, I mean, Patrick Kane is, how do I word this? There are almost like giveth and taketh moments with Kane at this point too, just because
Yeah,
like I mean, he had the bad turnover as you mentioned earlier, but then it's like anytime his line is asked to play defense, like it's just kind of ugly. But he's also, relatively speaking, he's pretty. They his deployments, they try to back that mindset. So I don't know, like I want him on the ice. He's such a dynamic playmaker. I want him on the ice and in the offensive zone as often as possible. It's just a matter of the Wings consistently setting up shop and staying in the offensive zone, which so far this season has been very few and far between.
Yeah, I was hoping that Puck IQ had updated the date ranges by the time we had recorded this so we could see exactly the quality of competition that line had played, because that second line is getting a lot more heavy quality of competition lately. Now, that was when Raymond was on it, so I'm not sure now that Patrick Kane's back on it if it's the same. But that second line is not producing much of anything offensively, and defensively, it's getting killed. And before, when Raymond was on it, was because they were basically being used as a shutdown line so that the first and third lines could produce a little bit more offense. But Patrick Kane's numbers at 5-on-5, we haven't really talked about it because why would we want to focus on another negative? But Patrick Kane's numbers at 5-on-5 have been really rough this season. Actually, that's a lie. We did focus on it. We had a whole we had a whole episode about that.
We had a whole half a show on the. But again,
short-term memory.
Right. Well, we talked a lot about the good as well. It wasn't just like a ragging on him thing. So,
but he still feasts at the power play, and the power play is one of the best in the league, and that's a lot to do with Patrick Kane's ability to see the ice, make really nice passes, and handle the puck. So it's a very, like you said, give and take situation with Patrick Kane. I don't know. I'm getting to a point now where I'm not really expecting him to do much at 5-on-5, but on power play, like, okay, deliver the puck.
Right.
And he's doing a nice job of that still. So
absolutely,
that's kind of where we're at now. Raymond, of course, that assist keeps him at just a point below. Crazy. He has one goal. He's 1 point below a point per game. He's got 14 points in 15 games. That's 14 of those are assists. That's 13 of those are assists. That's crazy. I don't know how he needs to score some goals. He needs to shoot the puck. But the fact that he has 13 assists and is leading the team in points on just assists alone is actually kind of nutty.
It's impressive.
It's impressive and also like frustrating at the same time because I want him to score goals. But points are points. Points means the puck is going in the back of the net.
Yeah, I don't want less assists though. So like,
no, I want to add to the assists with more goals because he's going to start shooting the puck more.
Okay.
I need Lucas Raymond.
Ryan wants Raymond to be an 120 point a season player.
Is that so much to ask? I mean, honestly.
I mean, really? Like, gee
honestly.
The bar's not that high.
Only thing I got left, I mean, in terms of, I felt like the rest of the team was, fairly invisible in this game. Like the top line was really good. The third line was noticeable in the first half. The rest of the team felt fairly invisible to me throughout the rest of the game, especially in the second half when they were just on their heels the whole time. The structure broke down. I don't really have anything to say. The only other thing I have is that Ville Husso was assigned to Grand Rapids like right after the game was ending. Yeah. They're only taking Lyon and Talbot to the West Coast road trip.
Yeah, which is, I think, good news for like the team. That means Alex Lyon's healthy and ready to roll, and that's what we want. So hopefully Husso can keep, building his confidence and getting back into the groove that we all want him to be in. But, as far as the current immediate outlook of the team, I mean, Lyon and Talbot have both been phenomenal, and we want both of them healthy. So I'm glad to know that is the case.
Absolutely.
I just realized you have the 250th career win thing on the show sheet, and I thought I was like dropping a cool stat, and I just now realized that was already written there. So
yeah, I thought about saying something when you said it. And I was like, no, I'll let him think he's special.
it's like like a toddler. Like, just I'll let him just have this one. I won't break his heart.
I mean, I was gonna say it. You said it. I was like, all right, now it's out there. Now people know it's 250 career wins. So it doesn't matter.
I even debated saving it till the end. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, I was like really like hyped to drop that, and then it's just on the show sheet. That's cool.
Yeah, they were talking about it in the pregame. I think ahead of time they was at 249 because they were also talking about Sidney Crosby being like super close to like 500 goals. Whatever Crosby, whatever. Who cares about that guy? Yeah, not a big deal.
McDavid's at 999 at least by the time of this recording. So yeah.
Also, I mean, Talbot, that's better. Bigger, more.
Talbot's better than McDavid.
Connor McDavid. Yep.
Oh, someone clipped that.
Stop.
Brian says Talbot's better than McDavid.
The goaltender is better than the center. Yes.
You know what's funny is I actually think I am the only one that actually said it, and I was just saying it for you. But I think I would actually be the one that would get embarrassed there.
Just to be clear, Sidney Crosby's and Connor McDavid's milestones when they hit are going to be massive deals because they're two of the greatest of all time. I was just joking that Talbot's 250th career win was a bigger deal. That was a joke, to be clear. Of course, if you want a clip, whatever, who cares? I mean, who needs context? It's more fun this way. Scotty?
Right. We ball.
Thoughts? We ball. We're back with a new episode tomorrow. We got 2 games to preview because they play back-to-back in California.
Yeah, that we're finally done with this ridiculous scheduling. It actually gets somewhat normal after this weekend.
It's like every other day, pretty much, for the rest of the month, I think. All right. Well, good talking to you. Talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for listening, everybody. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.